Hi everybody, this is Esha from Leora.ai and you're listening to the Leora Workplace Wellbeing Podcast, the show that provides micro learnings for people that aspire for a great place to work. So whether you seek to work on yourself, your team, or your organization, this will be a great podcast. Today we're talking about self-improvement using Eastern ways of life with Brendan Torazzi, who is the founder and director of ohs.com.au. That's ohs.com.au. It is a health and safety training marketplace. We're going to discuss everything there is to know about embracing alternative therapies in ways to become the best version of yourself. Welcome, Brendan.
Hello, Esha. Thanks so much for having me on your show.
No, thank you for joining us. Now, Brendan, we know that you're a serial entrepreneur and, in your ways of creating all these different businesses, you've also worked on yourself. How did you start on the journey of health and just well-being? Where did that start? Was there a point in your life where you felt that you needed, was there a compelling reason or?
Yeah, look, for me, it started with a crisis, actually. When I was about 20, my parents split up unexpectedly. And that sort of put me, I was already sort of starting to take care of myself in a physical way, but in an emotional way, that really knocked me for six. So that was kind of the crisis point that in my early 20s, I started searching for something that would help alleviate some of the emotional pain that I was going through.
So whilst you were going through that crisis, it's still quite a young age to have the self-awareness to start working on yourself. What were your immediate impulses? Like, what did you turn to?
Well, I think for a while I probably went down the partying sort of that angle, and that took me sort of so far before I realised that wasn't going to actually get down to the depth of what I was trying to solve. And so I tried all sorts of things. Like I was doing, I was quite interested in esoteric things. So I used to like go and see psychics and palm readers and that sort of thing. And then I studied like astrology and feng shui to try and get answers. And then I tried some like physical things like this technique called rolfing, which is like deep tissue massage to release emotions out of the body. But it was probably, I guess I was around 26 when I met my now wife, Amanda, and she introduced me to yoga. So that was probably the real starting point when I got into yoga. That started opening up a few more doors for me.
How did it help you in those initial years?
Well, I think it opened the door to go even further. So it didn't solve the pain, but it made me more curious. And I was sort of still, enjoying myself at the time, going out, having fun. And then I had this sort of sideline thing of yoga and still had the emotional pain deep down that I was trying to solve. And I had it felt like every month I would go into this like mini crisis. And then I'd be going, God, it was like a black hole. And that kept driving me to try and find a solution. And I think by the time I was about 30, we were traveling overseas and we met, we were in Sri Lanka actually, and we met a guy who, he was a yoga teacher and he was right into meditation and all that sort of thing. And he had a book on a meditation style called Vipassana, which is the kind of 10 days of silence. And I remember that I'd had a friend, a brother of my best mate actually, who had done a Vipassana when he was in his early 20s. And that sort of, remember him telling me at the time when I was quite young, going, oh, that sounds really interesting. So I discovered this book and I went, I'm going to give this a crack. And so when we returned from Sri Lanka, I enrolled myself in a 10-day course up in the Blue Mountains. And that was that was my real starting point, because I felt after completing that 10 days, and that was like incredibly challenging, but it gave me some real insights into this is what I wanted to do to take care of myself emotionally.
Did you find it challenging being silent and being with yourself, or was it challenging, like which part of that process is the hardest?
Well, the technique is like you meditate it's extreme. Let me just say that. I don't do Vipassana anymore, but I did do it for about 15 years.
What is it for people that?
Okay, so Vipassana focuses on when you're actually in the course, you learn a technique, and you're basically scanning your body for sensations, And over a 10-day period, you start realizing that all emotions and reactions actually come up as sensations in the body. And what you learn to do is to sit with those sensations and observe them and not react. So over time, I'll give you an example. Like, say you might get angry, right? And after you learn this Vipassana technique, you realize that anger is actually just a sensation. It might be a sensation in your throat, or it might be in your solar plexus. It could be in your stomach. It could be in a number of different parts in the body. And you, rather than reacting out of anger, over time, you learn to observe the sensation. So it's not a cure overnight, but it starts making you more aware that, like, say, if you're going through emotional pain, rather than just reacting and maybe doing things unconsciously, it taught me to just observe that emotional pain was actually just a sensation and that it would pass. So when I say it would pass, I mean that it's not going to last forever. Things come and go. And if you don't react, then they start going away more quickly.
Yes, because the reaction probably intensifies it and creates then that sort of circle of action, reaction, action, reaction.
100%. You're kind of ingraining that. If you're reacting, you're actually just making that, I guess, that thing that you're carrying around even deeper. It's like water going over a rock for a very long time, and you make these grooves in the rock, and that's your reaction, if that makes sense.
It does. In fact, I'm just thinking about something that happened this morning, and similarity. So when you give it a reaction, right, you almost give it a force.
Yeah.
And then that force can deepen, or you choose to not react to it, and suddenly it just passes, and it's like, oh, I'm just not going to have any, I'm not going to solidify this into anything more than it needs to be. So interesting. And this is the thing about pain as well, like even physical pain.
It's just a sensation in your body, really.
Yeah, we really fear it, but ultimately it's just a sensation. Yeah, very interesting. So then you went on this retreat and you were exposed to this practice.
Yeah.
And tell us about the 10 days. So what are you meant to do in those 10 days outside of, and how do they, because also one more thing around retreats, right? When you're on a retreat, it's really easy also, if nothing's poking at you, to actually have a very good time and come back and you feel like you're so zen. So were they doing things to instigate certain emotions for you to actually win that battle?
Look, I'd say it's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. It's like you as I said, you sort of you started about, I think it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, you start meditating, and it goes all the way through till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. You have breaks in between. And then after a certain amount of days, you actually have these hour sittings. And for 3 1-hour sessions per day, you have to actually sit and not move. So I'm telling you, it's quite an extreme. It's an extreme sort of form of meditation, but it works. It 100% works. So yeah, you would sit, 3 different 1-hour sessions per day where you would not move, and you'd have to observe those sensations, and you can start getting very good at it by the end of the 10 days. But so to sort of answer your question, it's a very full program. They feed you, you have little breaks, and there's also tuition. So you start learning the theory behind the meditation. And yeah, at the end of the 10 days, you walk out with a skill that you can choose to continue if you like. And that's what I chose. I'd been through all my sort of 20s, and I'd had this pain. And when I did that course, I walked out with this sense of elation and empowerment, just going, I've just found the thing that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, which is meditation. So yeah. I passionately knew that this was for me. Like I discovered the thing for me. And that was, over 20 years ago now. And I've been practicing meditation every day since.
And so in that time that you were there, where you were essentially formally trained,
yeah,
were there certain things that they encouraged you to do that would deepen your meditation?
Well, they give you a technique. So you have a method in which you're scanning all of your body. You start with your head, your skull, and then you go through your face, down your right arm, your left arm, through the trunk of your body, all through your legs. And then you would repeat the pattern over and over again. And so the idea is that emotions are stored as sensations in the body. And so you start scanning your body, starting to tease these reactions and sensations out of your body.
Wow.
You're not gonna solve it all in 10 days. I can tell you, it's a lifelong process.
Yeah. And this process is often referred to as the spiral. So you just go deeper and deeper into that spiral, right? It's like peeling off the onion.
Yeah. Well, I would say I think a spiral might have a downward effect. This is more of
Upward.
an upward effect. So, when you start, the goodness can't help but come out of you once you start doing this as a regular practice.
So it starts to rise. Yeah. So often people and sort of individuals that are very experienced in mindfulness meditation and practice this quite regularly have described to me like it's like a spiral that does go upwards, because what's happening is that there's something that might come up for you, but maybe a year later or a few years later, you'll come back to a full circle. It'll come up again. And it's almost like this repeating of patterns, because we are a set of these predetermined patterns, right? We start to become very patternistic in our life. And so it's like coming back to those patterns and going to a deeper level and then unrooting it and then doing it again and then unrooting it. So like, I really agree with what you're saying. It's like a lifetime thing. It's definitely not a 10-day or once a year experience. It's something that then we start to work on as part of our lifestyle.
It's like, I like to explain it to people, and this is something that most people can understand. It's like your physical fitness, right? You wouldn't expect it to go on a 10-day boot camp and that's your physical health taken care of for the rest of your life. Everyone understands that to stay fit physically, you need to do some work on that on a daily or a weekly basis.
Yeah.
In a continuing pattern, because if you don't do that, then you're not using your body. So eventually it's going to catch up to you. So it's the same thing with meditation. It's like for me, and as I said, I don't do Vipassana anymore, but it was such a wonderful foundation for me to ground me in meditation. And I did Vipassana for about maybe 13 or 14 years. So I went back a number of times to do the 10-day courses, and then I had children. When the kids were young, I was still doing Vipassanas, but it started getting sort of hard at a certain time when, we had 3 kids, and I was down to, I think I was doing 10 or 15 minutes twice a day. And then sort of in the last 4 or 5 years, I've discovered a different type of meditation called Vedic meditation, or transcendental meditation, which was made famous by the Beatles in the 1960s. And that's what I do now, 2 20-minute meditations a day. And because of the Vipassana, I think that Vedic meditation has just become so easy, because I had all that years of practice, and Vipassana would prescribe 2 1-hour sessions a day, which is it's pretty hard to keep up. But 2 20-minute sessions a day, I always find time. It's a non-negotiable for me.
As we start to practice or deepen our practices with mindfulness, meditation, self-awareness, right? There's a level of empathy that we build almost. I don't know if you refer to yourself as an empath, or you may not, but there's a level of sensitivity that we start to have even to people around us, surroundings. Did that for you heighten? And how did you work on the triggers? Because that's one thing I found, the more I meditate, the more empath abilities I have. And then sometimes it's actually not good. Then, I see and I feel so much more than I need to.
Yeah.
Did you experience that, and how do you work on it?
I think like in recent years, the more meditation I've done is that I kind of, you become more relatable. Like you can understand people better, and you can see parts of yourself in other people. And so that sort of really does help you kind of realize that we're all connected. We're all energetically connected. There's parts of you that are me and vice versa, and that to everyone. So yeah, I think that as far as the sensitivity goes, I haven't really, I haven't found that being a debilitating thing. It's probably just more awareness, I think, awareness of the actions that I take and how that might affect other people. So I sort of think more about that.
Yeah. And so we were talking about the foundations of, what started off for you as something that's now such a key part of your life. Were there other things that they suggested outside of the structure of this meditation and scanning your body from top to bottom and feeling into those sensations? Were there other things that they promoted as a lifestyle shift that you had to incorporate?
Yeah, look, they promoted a lot of stuff, and I think that's why I've ended up going to Vedic meditation. So there was a lot of you can't do this and you can't do that. Whereas Vedic meditation sort of say, well, you can do whatever you like. You just have to work it out for yourself. So I'll give you an example. For Vipassana meditation, it's you can't drink, right? Alcohol, it's absolutely taboo. Whereas Vedic meditation, yeah, you can drink, work it out for yourself. And I actually don't drink anymore. I stopped about maybe 8 or 9 months ago. And that was just a process I worked out for myself at a certain age. I just went, I'm actually not, the benefits do not outweigh the things that hold me back. So I sort of just got to this point where I stopped drinking because I'm I've got way too many things happening. And when I drink, it actually affects my performance in all the things I love doing. So took me, I'm a slow learner, Esha. It took me about 30 years to work that out. But yeah, that's just a small example.
This is the beauty of, I think, meditation, is that the awareness builds over time. So it's a really, it doesn't have to be a fast journey as long as it's an enjoyable journey. And every sort of cornerstone, you're discovering different versions of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not by any means saying to people, don't drink. I'm really not saying that. It's just work out what works for you. And if it feels good and it's not harming anyone, then go down that path.
Yeah, I find this such a controversial thing and topic, and especially when we make a comment like, "Oh, I don't drink," and then once a year you have a little sip because it's like a $500 bottle or something, and you're celebrating something massive, and someone's offered it to you, and you just, and it kind of we need to be fluid and more relaxed about these things. So.
100%. Yeah, it's not a hard and fast rule. I may start drinking again, but at the moment I'm not. So
yeah, and you may even have a sip because and that doesn't mean that you're now drinking, but it just means that you're human and you're having human experiences, and you lean in sometimes to things, and you kind of don't need them at other times in your life. But it's the awareness. I think what's so beautiful about this whole thing around the Eastern way of life is just that whole awareness that comes.
But the funny thing, a lot of people say in India are now looking to people in the West to learn these techniques of meditation that have actually come originally from the East.
Yes. Well, it's kind of, but isn't that the same thing that we do? As we all do this.
Yeah.
As children, we'll never look to our parents, but then when we're older, we kind of all have versions of our parents.
Yeah.
We do the full circle.
Do the full circle, exactly.
So have you found that these things, meditation, yoga, that has helped you become better as a leader in your businesses as well?
I think so. My approach is very much hands off. So I kind of I have 3 different businesses, and I kind of let my staff do their thing and contribute where I'm needed, but I'm kind of very hands off. And I've found over time, actually, by doing these 20 minutes a day, it actually creates more space and more time in my day. So I seem to have all this space around me, and you become really effective. At least I think I am, but
that's what matters.
Yeah.
you're living your life through your lens, your line of sight. So as long as you think you're
Yeah.
effective and it's not bothering anyone. Do
Yeah.
you, part of your meditation practice, do you also manifest? Do you sometimes visualize what you want? And is that part of your practice as well?
Not really. So the Vedic meditation style is you're given a mantra and you repeat that mantra, and then you're going to the this field of consciousness of being. That's where it's kind of like, it's hard to explain. It's like halfway between being awake and asleep, but it's the unified field of consciousness, they call it. So that's where everything manifests from. And so you don't always get there, but the more you practice, the more often you get to this field, and things just kind of fall into your lap. So that's what I've noticed over time, is that I kind of have, I have desires, but the best things that happen aren't planned. They just sort of spontaneously arise. It's a little bit hard to explain, but yeah, there's just been so many good material things that have happened that they haven't been chased. They just kind of land in your lap.
Can I add my experience to this? My interpretation is that when we sit in silence, and there's many things that happen from a biology, physiology perspective in our body when we're sitting in silence. One of that is that we connect with our emotions and we release them, that flow, of water over the rock that we were talking about. And every feeling or emotion has an energetic vibration. And so there's the dense emotions of fear and hatred, grief. They have very dense energetic vibrations. And then some of the other emotions that we have, like love, joy, abundance, and the experience of prosperity, all of these sensations have a different vibration. So as we let go of the heavier, dense emotions, we naturally start to increase our energy levels or our vibrational levels to then connect with source and the vibration that you're referring to, or the universal connection where things can be manifested more easily. So I just feel like we become more magnetic.
Yeah.
And there's just an easier flow of energy.
Yeah, like when you're in that unified field of consciousness, like it's kind of like what a lot of people would explain as bliss. So like nothing actually matters when you're there. So you're not hanging or chasing, or you're just sitting with yourself and just in that field of being. And yeah, lots of amazing stuff can happen there.
Pure acceptance, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like and then it actually doesn't matter whether, if you have like some deep aspirations towards something or not. It's like, well, so be it. If it happens, if it doesn't,
Yeah.
acceptance.
Yep. That was it. That was the other thing that I was going to share, Esha, is that even if you don't believe in meditation and you're not interested in those spiritual angles, I came up with this idea a while ago that meditation, it's like strengthening your mind. So just like you go to the gym or do physical exercise to strengthen your body, meditation helps you strengthen your mind. And with so much, I guess, so many mental issues going through our society, if you can, as an individual, make yourself better by strengthening your mind and giving yourself some, I guess, clarity or peace, then that's just going to make the world a better place. It's one less person that's struggling in that way, or struggling less, and then that then it benefits the people around you. If you're in a positive state of mind, then other people are going to benefit from being around that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think what a wonderful way to end our discussion today is like, start with self, isn't it?
100%. It's like solve your own problems, and then that's really key. If you can make yourself less complicated and a little bit happier and a little bit less stress, then that just if everybody does that as an individual, it starts making the world a better place.
Yes. Yeah, it's one of the things that I'm asked frequently is like, how do I make my workplace a better place? Or how do I run my team more efficiently? Or how am I a better leader? It's, you just have to start with yourself,
Yeah.
and that is actually the best example for everyone around us, isn't it?
Yeah, self-care, like if you can invest a little bit of time each day, and it honestly doesn't take much. Like I always thought that it's better to do a little bit each day as opposed to doing, like, say you did 10 minutes every day working on yourself in some way instead of doing an hour a week. You actually get movement and energy flow when you do a little bit every day, and it becomes more of a habit. And that's the way I approach health anyway. I do a little bit every day, and lots of little things, and then it keeps everything moving and fresh. And yeah,
It's the incremental gains.
yeah, and and because it's such a short amount of time, it's not onerous.
And then we're also balanced, because that's the other thing, is the reality is that we do have responsibilities in our current state. Like, a lot of us are married, or a lot of us have financial responsibilities from work or kids or parents, aging parents. So it keeps us quite balanced when we have that view of small, incremental, but consistent,
Yeah,
as opposed to the harsh kind of ups and downs of extreme commitment and then having a downfall because you can't maintain it.
that's it.
Yeah.
There we go. We've solved some of the world's problems today, Esha.
I think, Brendan, what it says is that there's just a whole lot of experience there from burnout. So it's like, it's just, those personal experiences have tried and tested, and this is kind of what's sustainable. But I do really appreciate your time today. I love the fact that you were so open with sharing your strategies. We just need to hear more of that, so more people feel comfortable in leaning in and, exploring the evolution of self. Appreciate your time, Brendan, and I hope to continue this conversation in a few years' time when you've evolved further.
Thanks so much, Esha.